What if you devote your life to being a physician to save lives and have one of the most noble careers that exists? And then you have a sudden cardiac arrest and you die and you go to hell. That is what happened to our author today, Dr. Robert Treuherz, who's here with his beautiful wife, Claudia Treuherz. He is here to talk about his incredible story that he chronicled in 10 Second Chances. It's This Doctor Died and Went to Hell. Why? I like to say you died, went to hell, and lived to tell about it and lived to write a book about it. Welcome, Dr. Treuherz.
Thank you.
And welcome, Claudia.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So from now on, it's Dr. Rob and Claudia. Welcome to talk about this incredible book that you wrote together. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling really good, really happy just to be alive and just to be here and have what we call another now moment together.
Yes, beautiful. So, not only does this book chronicle your incredible story, but it also is a testament to the love and the life-saving power of love and faith. So, we are about to dive into all of that. But can you start with telling us about the beautiful life that you were enjoying as epitomized by this photo of you two on a boat just a short time before the cardiac arrest?
Well, we were living out every fantasy that we could have had. We'd planned for retirement. I always dreamed of being able to retire up here, come up here and work up here before retirement in Lake Arrowhead. And I actually started open an office, which because of the car accident and heart attack, we never really were able to get that going. But we were having a wonderful experience here. Our kids were coming out, and as you can see from pictures in the book, they were enjoying the lake. They were go skiing in the winters, and we were enjoying the four seasons and the clean air. And it was just a wonderful, healthy experience. I was
Hmm.
hiking and bringing firewood, loads and loads of firewood was something I enjoyed to do for exercise, and it was in incredibly good physical shape.
Hmm. This, after decades of devotion as a physician. So, Dr. Rob, what kind of physician have you been throughout your life?
So I'm an internal medicine physician, and I've been trained in internal medicine and critical care.
Hmm. Okay.
So
And
basically,
so, pardon?
medicine, basically
Hmm.
hospital medicine, intensive care medicine, that kind of thing.
Hmm. And what inspired you to go into the medical field?
Well, science always fascinated me, and the science of medicine particularly got my attention. It's uh, very high tech. It embraces all aspects of the human experience, and you get to intervene in people's most difficult times, and you learn how to communicate with families and other coworkers, and it kind of takes you to another level of experience, and
Hmm.
you get
Hmm.
to actually see someone who came in dying walk away.
Right, right. Beautiful. So you literally were saving lives.
Well, not all the time, but I did the best I could.
Okay, okay. So now, both of you, please take us to the day that changed everything.
Go ahead. This is you do this better.
It was a beautiful day. We went to the mall, and on the way back, right before taking the street that takes up our mountain, a young man hit us head on, and the impact was so powerful. For a while, I wasn't quite sure what had happened. It was very confusing, and I realized we were in a catastrophic car accident when I saw the windshield shattered. Um, the car filled with smoke. Everything was just it was mayhem. I remember hearing somebody scream, and I kept thinking, "Who's screaming like that?" And it was me. I was screaming. Um, I was in agonizing pain, but somehow I was not connected. Like the brain was no longer connected to my body. I was just it was sort of a out of body experience, but yet I was still there screaming. Um, Next thing I remember is being cut out of the vehicle, and I was in an ambulance.
And where was Dr. Rob?
So
At that time, I was not aware where he was. I had no idea. I had no idea he was even hurt. I when they put me in the ambulance, I remember him being there, but I don't know anything past that
Okay.
until I
Okay.
got to the hospital.
Okay. And then Dr. Rob, where were you?
so I was driving, and I vaguely remember the impact. I have this flashback to shattered glass in the windshield and a horrific sound. And next thing I knew, all the airbags went off, and the system in the car that calls for help went off, asking if we needed help, and which seemed kind of absurd, but I didn't anticipate that. And I answered, yes, we do need help. And as it turned out, as you read, there was an ambulance on the scene, so we immediately had an ambulance there. The ambulance unfortunately contributed to the accident, but uh, the car filled with smoke. It was like orange bubbles of orange bubbles of flame around us, and
Like a
it's
pillow,
like orange little orange pillows, um, like some kind of candy, um,
cotton candy.
cotton candy of flame over us. It was very strange.
Wow.
And, you could smell, pardon me, you could smell the burning rubber and the gunpowder from the airbags and burning hair, and it was horrific. I tried to get Claudia out of the car. I couldn't open the door. I got my door open and I basically rolled out of the car onto the asphalt. And without being conscious of it, I got our dog Max out, and he was there licking me on the floor, and there was glass everywhere that I was laying on, and it was very hot. And it was a horrendous shock, obviously. And I thought, I can't help Claudia. And I heard her screaming, and I thought I was going to lose her.
Hmm. And then what happened to you?
So I was taken on the ambulance, another ambulance, and they did an EKG strip, and which I was able to look at, and they said, you're having a heart attack. And I remember when I got out of the car, I couldn't get up. I was dizzy. There was a paramedic there, and I kept asking about Claudia, and they said she was taken in another hospital. I mean, in another ambulance. And next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance on the way to the hospital,
Hmm.
and the ambulance was it's very intense and memorable because the ambulance had an awful kind of a sick smell, and you could smell. It's just it just was terrifying.
Hmm. Hmm. And such a flipping the switch because you're usually the physician and here you're the patient. So what happened when you got to the hospital?
Uh, they took me into a critical care room at the hospital, and they said, you're having a heart attack. Unfortunately, I'm leaving a lot of stuff out. They took me directly to the catheterization lab, where they do stents and evaluate the status of your coronary arteries. And they said, we need to put a stent in your heart to preserve your life. And I knew it was bad if they took me instantly, not relatively as fast as they could, to the catheterization room. And I remember I couldn't look at Claudia, but apparently I passed her in the hallway, and she recognized my watch and started screaming out for me, and I was screaming out for her. And we passed in the hallway, and that
On
was the
gurneys.
on gurneys. Yeah.
Wow. What a moment.
Yeah.
That's
So
like a
one moment
movie
we were in the
scene.
car together, and yeah, not a very unpleasant one.
Right, 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 right. Okay. So then what? They're putting this stint in.
So they put the stent in, and I remember next thing being in ICU and not feeling any better. That hospitalization basically was a 2 week progressive, insidious, kind of pernicious
Deterioration.
deterioration. Every day I just got worse and worse, and I should have, with a correctly placed stent, I should have felt better instantly, not well, very quickly, and theoretically been able to leave that hospital in a week or so and get back to work. And I just kept getting worse and worse every day, and to me, I knew something was wrong.
Hmm. And then what?
So I kept asking the staff to, reassess the situation, and I knew they had a lot of options, and there were interviews, so to speak, with different staff in there, and the cardiologist who came by happened to be, unfortunately, extremely unpleasant. And he basically kept repeating, what do you want us to do? You had a heart attack. And the message was, you're done. And staff would come and tell Claudia to get ready. Our lives are about to change and whatnot. And that I just sat there every day for 2 weeks asking interns and residents, what's going on, what's going on. And they would say, well, I have to ask the attending, I don't know. And I would complain, I can't breathe. I'm needing more oxygen. My lungs are filling with fluid. Nothing was getting better. It was just getting worse and worse. It was an unbelievable hospital nightmare, especially for a physician who knew this should not be going this way.
Wow, 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 wow. And then when did catastrophe strike?
So there's a lot of things that happened in the interim, which I described, and
It's all in the book.
yeah. But I managed to get myself with Claudia's help, and she was hospitalized too. This needs to be said. She was hospitalized from that car accident. She had a fractured sternum, which caused severe chest pain. She had a dislocated and partially fractured clavicle. She had a spinal injury. She could barely move. She was
Oh
in
my
trauma.
gosh.
And we had our own series of difficulties there where they wouldn't let her see me at times. And it was kind of a bizarre experience. We managed to get me transferred to another hospital where I knew the physicians and the cardiologists there. And that cardiologist and that pulmonary and that team went in and reassessed the stents and said, you're a very sick man. The stents they placed failed from the beginning, which I suspected. I suspected that what they did in that first hour didn't work, which is why, obviously, instead of getting better, I got worse. It's called a failed stent syndrome, which is a piece of plastic you put into a vessel to open it up. It was, to put it simply, underexpanded and undersized. It was the wrong stent, and the death of the cells in my heart went from the inside of my heart all the way to the wall to the outside of the heart, or transmural. So instead of getting better, the damage became extended and became irreversible.
Wow, that's terrible.
And
And
no
meanwhile,
evidence
you were feeling.
through transplant or anything else. Next thing, I managed to get transferred to another hospital where they reassessed, placed different stents, and I was super critical at that point, and that was before disaster.
Okay.
The violent first near-death experience.
Okay, then what was the disaster? Tell us.
So, pardon me. I would say about 24 hours after that life-saving intervention, I developed what's called a reperfusion arrhythmia, meaning my heart was shocked because all of a sudden now it's getting blood. Blood is in the heart. And the dead part of the heart, dead cells of the heart, were shocked by all of a sudden all this oxygen and blood flow. And it resulted in a fatal heart rhythm irregularity. I coded. And that's
You coded.
Yeah. And that's the time I completely went out. I was found in agonal respirations, your final breaths of life I was taking. They coded me, and that's what I described in the book.
Yes, yes. Okay, so you were clinically dead, it sounds like. Your heartbeat rate stopped and your vital signs shut down. And then I know Claudia's in this.
My heart didn't completely stop.
Okay.
But had a prolonged CPR with a lot of broken ribs and broken teeth from the intubation and things, and it was difficult. There was a lot of damage done.
Okay. So then for the scene, it's sort of the crescendo of all of this, Claudia was there. So Claudia, you must have recovered enough to be in the room with Dr. Rob?
I was not in the room when the initial code happened. I just left the hospital to go shower because it was, he was in ICU. I had nowhere to shower. So I said, I'm only going to go take a quick shower. I'm going to run back. Meanwhile, before I left, I was very concerned about his blood pressure. It was very, very low, 75 over 43, 72 over 40. And I kept saying, it's too low. It's too low. Something is wrong. And they assured me everything was okay. Don't worry, just go home and shower. Um, and I got a phone call from my mother-in-law asking me where I was, and I said I am on my way back to the hospital. And she said, "Get here soon." So as soon as she said that, I knew something bad had happened. Um, I called the floor and I asked to speak with his nurse, and he asked me if I was driving, and I said yes. And then he said, "Then we'll talk when you get here." At that moment, I knew 100%. I said, he coded. I called my stepson, Bradley, and I told him, I said, he coded. Sure enough, when I got to the hospital, my in-laws were waiting for me in the lobby. And the first thing that my mother-in-law said, he coded. And I remember just my knees buckling. I couldn't move. I remember just falling to the ground and just wailing.
This story makes me cry. Oh my gosh, I've heard it so many times, and every time it just makes me cry because I can feel your pain, your horror, your shock. It's just
It's
so
hard to
incredible. And then when you read it, you wrote it in a way that's just as impactful on the emotion. So then what happened, Claudia?
I was told that I had to go to this room. It was a grief room where a counselor and a chaplain will come and talk to us.
security.
And security. So I told my mother-in-law, I remember at that point just adrenaline shooting through me and saying, "Oh no, I am not going to go to a grief room. Absolutely not." I said, "I'm going to go into the unit." I had no idea where he was because they had moved him. And I said, "I don't care. I'll find him." And I remember just buzzing and saying, "I'm here to see my husband. Let me in." They let me in. They
It was a
didn't ask
large
any
circular
questions.
unit. You couldn't know where somebody was.
And then I started running around. It's all glass, and the rooms that were covered, I would peek in. If he was not,
Oh my gosh.
I would until I found him. And I remember just running into that room and
Uh-huh.
seeing his half open eyes was it was surreal to see him, there but not there.
Were they
And
working on him
oh
Intubated
yeah,
and
he was intubated. They were working on him.
with CPR?
The CPR had already concluded.
Oh,
Now at this point, he's intubated and he's being kept alive by a machine.
oh, okay.
with artificial blood pressure support, uh,
Uh-huh.
because I had no blood pressure without
Uh,
the drugs that artificially raise your blood pressure.
The
okay,
nurse,
okay.
the nurse was very patient. She went over his um, medications, and she was trying to explain to me that, he's not really there. He's there, but not really.
The heart was pumping, but
Um,
ineffectively because it not beating correctly.
she used this tool with spikes on it on
Little
his
wheel.
feet to show me that there were no reflexes. And then she pushed her knuckles into his chest. Um, she pushed on his nail beds. She did
Twisted my nipples.
all kinds of tests that I was just horrified. And she kept asking me, "Do you understand what this means?" And of course I understood what it means, but I didn't want to accept it. And I said, "No, no, 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 no." I said, "No, he's not gone." I said, "Absolutely not. He's still in there." And I asked, is he gonna come out of this? And I remember everybody just looking at each other and kind of saying, "We don't know. It's up to him now." I mean, he's pretty gone. There's nothing there. And I said, "But there's brain function, right?" They said, "Yeah, there's brain function, but that's it." And
Wow.
I dropped to my knees.
Probably fixed and dilated pupils. Nobody home.
Nobody was home. I
Mm-hmm.
I kneeled at the head of his bed, and I just started praying.
Mm.
And I just
Which
was
made everybody apparently very uncomfortable.
very uncomfortable.
Mm.
And as hours passed by, the medical personnel was, left the room. There was nothing left that they can do. I was asked to call the kids so they would come in
It's okay.
and see him before.
They turn everything off.
And I did. It was the hardest phone call to make to my stepkids, telling them we need to come.
Mm-hmm.
Which
And
they
so
did.
meanwhile,
Day.
pardon?
They showed the kids Kane the next day.
Okay. So meanwhile, Dr. Rob, what were you experiencing while all this was happening?
Well, this was the beginning of a new beginning. It is. It's not. Wasn't the beginning of the end. It was the beginning of a new experience of life and what to expect. It was a backwards fall into an abyss. Yeah. Backwards fall down into an abyss, leaving light into darkness and extreme cold. And I remember holding on to what I guess was a bed rail, but holding on to something that felt like a steel rod in my right hand that I was trying to hold on to. I don't know if it was real or not, but it slid out of my hand, and then the speed of falling increased. And as I went down, I started to lose my sense of self. I started to lose anything that was physical. My physical self was falling away. And it got colder and darker. And what started to seize me was this overwhelming sense of terror, foreboding, a sense of malevolence, and that something horrible was happening that shouldn't happen. It was cold and hot at the same time, which is hard to explain, but there was this strange sense. And as I got deeper and deeper into this darkness, I was struggling for Claudia. She was screaming and yelling and praying for me to come back. And I lost my sense of direction. It was like being in some kind of falling into just a nothingness. And my awareness faded away into just an awareness of an awareness, or a kind of just mist of a sense of presence. And I wasn't Robert Treuherz anymore. I wasn't a doctor, a father, a husband, a male or a female. There was just this fading sense. And as this progressed, it transitioned into a sense that I was leaving one realm and entering a next.
Wow, 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 wow. And Dr. Rob, you describe it in such a breathtaking way in this book. So everybody listening, watching, please read the book, because his description is unlike anything I've ever read. And I edit books a lot. We've done more than 60 books here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing, and this just literally took my breath away. So please read it. It's so unusual to hear this vivid description of hell. So Dr. Rob, meanwhile, Claudia is there screaming, and that's conveyed beautifully in the book as well. So Claudia, can you tell us what was happening with you?
I don't remember screaming, but I do remember basically begging him not to leave.
Okay.
Praying, constantly praying and praying and praying, begging God to give him one more chance.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he wasn't ready. Not just physically, he was not ready. He was not ready spiritually. And I knew that. And I didn't want him to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I wanted to see him again. And I knew if he died, then I would never see him again.
So, and that was my main thought, was how to stay connected and to stay present with Claudia and our lives not be separated.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I knew bartering with God was silly at that point, but I was willing to throw everything out there.
Wow, wow, wow. So meanwhile, Dr. Rob,
I remember her saying, "Please don't leave. I can't do life without you." She said, "If you don't come back, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come down in there and get you."
Wow, 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 wow. So powerful. So beautifully written in the book as well. And let me just share that Dr. Rob, you tell your account, and then Claudia writes her own chapter explaining her perspective. So it's really uniquely structured. And your son Bradley and your son-in-law Alan Davenport also share their chapters and perspectives and experience. So it's beautiful. So ultimately, Claudia's praying. You, Dr. Rob, are experiencing this, and it's pretty much her prayers and calls out to you are pulling you back or keeping you from slipping entirely into that other dimension. Is that how you experienced it?
Yeah, she was the only lighthouse in this storm. To be, not to be corny, but that's what it was. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel that she was empowered to have her prayers and her voice reach me and guide me. I felt like my fading sense of awareness, this mist of a sense of awareness, I was trying to swim myself back to her voice, but with no
Mm.
or anything. It was just trying to force my will towards her. And as I got closer to that voice, things got more difficult. I started to feel the pain from the CPR and the broken ribs and the chest pain, and something was wrong with breathing. And it would have been so much easier to disconnect and slide back. And I felt something dark and malevolent pulling me back, didn't want to let me go.
Mm.
That made me want to resist that and fight and come back. Like I'm not going to surrender, and I'm not going to let this thing take me, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let it take me away from Claudia and my kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you didn't because you're here to write a book about it. I just love that. So how did you come back to, and then what was the aftermath?
Well, let me just go back to before I was able to swim towards her voice. I felt like at one point I transitioned from one reality to the next. I slid away from the connection of this life into another dimension, or dimension's the wrong word, but another a kind of portal, if you will, or
Realm.
realm. And it felt very old, and it felt very dark, and it felt there was a sense of desperation. And that's when I saw the two pathways, one to heaven and one to hell. And that's when I was being sucked into the one into hell.
Mm,
And just before it was too late, I was able to break free just for that moment to swim towards her voice.
mm, mm-hmm. Wow. And then what happened?
Then, after managing to come back, there was this sort of desperate push pull. I don't know how long it went on for, but I was very close to the surface, so to speak. I was very close. I felt it coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, from one moment to the next, I I opened my eyes and I saw Claudia crying and looking at me, and the next moment I was aware I couldn't breathe,
Oh,
and
wow.
I wasn't sedated. My hands were free, so I could pull at the tube and pull it out. But I realized, as a physician, I've intubated and programmed ventilators. I thought, don't pull it out. So I tried to concentrate and figure out what the ventilator settings might be and work with it and breathe with that rhythm. But the panic was so overwhelming, I didn't have the control, and I felt like that ventilator was choking me and suffocating me, and it felt like I was drowning, and it was a horror.
Mm. And then Claudia, you're there witnessing this.
I I basically jumped on top of him to hold him down.
She
I
knew I
had
shouldn't pull the tube out. From
my
things I've told her.
mother-in-law and my father-in-law were helping me. They both, I mean, it was 3 in the morning. They were exhausted. We were all exhausted. But at this point, we were all just trying to hold him down. And I'm trying to tell him, breathe with me, breathe with me. And I was trying
They
to
didn't
kind of
expect me to
mimic.
come back. No one they thought they could leave me and I was never going to move again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The nurse that was assigned to him, she was a floater. And she was completely shocked. She
Overwhelmed.
was overwhelmed. She didn't, I've never seen panic like I've seen on that woman. She literally left, and I thought she went to get a doctor, but too much time was passing by and I was just desperate to get somebody in there. So then I just started running down the hallways screaming, get me a doctor, get me a doctor. And I was banging on everything, every counter, I mean, cabinets, whatever I could find to make noise. I was screaming, get me a doctor, get a doctor, get a doctor. And then you just see a bunch of people running from
everywhere,
from this
different
ICU.
rooms, and yeah,
And
there were people around, obviously, but no one was attending to me at that moment.
Wow. Okay. And so then what happened?
I I was demanding that they remove the tube, and they
Mm,
said they couldn't remove the tube until um, the respiratory doctor was there, and his doctor had to give the orders. So at this point, I'm calling his doctor. I have his cell phone. I'm calling the his internal medicine physician. I'm calling everybody. I don't care what time it is. I want this tube out. And
hmm.
they kept saying, no, we'll just sedate him. And I said, don't you dare. He won't come out. I said, no, take the tube out. Take the tube out.
I
And
couldn't have come back. If I had to go back into that again, I would never have come out.
Wow, 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 wow. So, Claudia, your prayers and your advocacy were literally saving his life in this moment.
and I have to say, even though I was praying for it, I almost couldn't believe that he was back. It was such a dichotomy because here I am praying so hard for him to come back, and here he's back, and I'm in utter shock.
Mm,
He's back, and just chaotic. The whole scene was so chaotic.
The
wow.
respiratory tech told her that in how many years?
16 years of practice. She said, I've never seen this.
Wow.
I remember saying, I'm glad we made history. Just get the tube out, get the tube out.
Oh,
The cardiologist ordered the tube out, and she almost refused, didn't she? Is what she told me.
No, she took it
But
out.
she was very afraid. They thought I was going to
wow.
respiratory failure and have to put another one back in.
Hmm. So there's a lot to cover here, but I just want to make sure we explain or hear from you, Dr. Rob. You become a doctor. That's very noble, saving lives or trying to save lives. Why do you think you went to hell?
I think that I was spiritually, that's such a vague word, but that I was spiritually naive and I was focusing on the wrong things. Uh, I initially thought I went to hell because I wasn't a good enough person. I wasn't a good enough doctor. And I thought I was. I thought I had been. And, I was thinking, gee, maybe if I'd saved more patients, or maybe if I hadn't failed these patients, and I write in the book some deeply personal things about my family, things that happened that I could have and should have handled better, very serious, severe things leading to death of family members and things associated with that. And I was blaming what I thought were my failings as a person, as a doctor, as a son, and all this. And this journey led me to realize that it had ultimately nothing to do with what I did or didn't do. I wasn't going to get saved or a second chance at life or be able to go to heaven because of anything I did. The only way to get there was going to be through grace and through acceptance of Christ and through acceptance of God. And that was something I was only abstractly in touch with. It was more of an abstract. All of a sudden, it became an application. Those are the only words I can think. This became from an abstract concept that, oh yeah, well, let's go to church on Sunday, or let's this. Nothing to do with church. It had to do with
Tradition most of the time.
tradition. And it's very easy to confuse activity and motion for true action. Just because people are running around doing rituals and this and that, that's activity and motion, but it's not effective action. Effective action is taking hold of your future and your spirituality and learning what you need to learn, because it's all out there. It's been out there for thousands of years. And you have to understand and embrace Christ and realize that he's the way you're going to get saved. I learned that God is real, the devil is real, heaven is real, hell is real. There are demons that can follow you. All this stuff is absolutely real. And if you don't want to deal with it, you don't want to face it, that's your choice. I'm not proselytizing. It's not. I would hope people would come to this realization before it's too late.
mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
when it's too late, that's one of the things. If you're blessed enough to have that one moment to realize you're dying, because if hit by a plane crash or something, you don't have time. But if you have that a couple of seconds before your brain goes out on you, you're hit with the fact that it's too late. You're done. Whatever you
Oh,
did whatever's unfinished, whatever you should have said that you didn't say, whatever, it's never going to happen.
Wow.
And it's the second thing this is a very long process. I'm abbreviating here, but I also realize that everyone has a purpose in life. Everyone has a mission.
Mm-hmm.
And deep down in our hearts and our souls and our minds, we know what that mission is. But it's easier to postpone and to get distracted by all the distractions in life. And now, especially with media and social media and all these things, you can be on your phones forever and be distracted by all of this unimportant nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And you lose focus on the things that really matter. And
Mm-hmm.
I came out of that with a realization the only thing that matters are the people you love. And you're focused in what we call a now moment, like we're having now.
Mm-hmm.
Where complete focus is on this moment and nothing else. And we're never going to lose this moment. And we're never going
Mm-hmm.
to lose moments together.
Never.
Beautiful.
Never.
That is beautiful, beautiful. And another effect of this experience has been an intensified love experience for the two of you who are already wildly in love. So, can you talk about how it's enhanced and intensified your relationship?
Well, I learned that angels are real and they don't have to be some kind of spirit. I realized that God can empower a human to be an angel, and that's Claudia.
Oh,
She really is that person.
that is so beautiful.
Also, and it doesn't just apply to your spouse necessarily. It's also true of your children.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The love you have for your children is just as strong and just as important, and you want to spend every moment you can with them.
Mm-hmm. So, Bradley Treuherz, your son, he drove down the coast of California to come and be at your side, and your other son, Brian, um, everybody, your mother, everybody came together to help you. And it's just a beautiful testament to family love and support and coordinating because as your story progressed, you had the first near-death experience and then you had nine more. And part of this journey included a heart transplant at the UCLA Medical Center. So you have to read the book to read all of the ups and downs that happened in between. But Dr. Rob, can you talk about getting the heart transplant? That was literally your next lease on life. What was that like?
Frankly, terrifying. It was, it scared the you know what out of me. I was in the hospital. Fortunately, I was very blessed to get a heart relatively quickly because of my blood type and my size. The heart has to fit your body, right? And those things are very important. So I got one within 3 weeks, which was very unusual. But I was also critically ill, not expected to last. It could go anytime, so I was a high priority. Um, it was the most terrifying experience I went through. We had a false alarm where one heart we thought was available, and when you actually spend those hours before being called to the OR, thinking your chest's gonna, and I'm a surgeon. I've done surgery. It's not my primary focus of practice. I am technically a licensed surgeon, and I've assisted at surgeries and things and done some. But when you think of your own chest being cut open and your heart torn out, and you go on a heart-lung bypass machine for hours, and some other heart being attached to all of your vessels in your chest and close, think about that. Really think about that, and you probably won't survive if you're that sick to begin with, and then to come out of that and then go through the post-transplant process, it's an incredible experience. And if you eventually have the support structure to pull through this and do everything, and I believe we've done everything right, then if you do what you're told, you have a good result. The
Mm-hmm.
people who
And you've
don't,
had.
the people who don't listen to their doctors are the ones who don't do well. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and even sometimes I got weak, and Claudia kept me on track.
Okay, okay. So speaking of doctors, your UCLA medical team is going to be with you at a wonderful celebration at the UCLA Retreat Center in Lake Arrowhead, California, where you live. That will be on October 5th, and I'm going to put the link here so people can purchase tickets to come to this wonderful celebration of the book where you're going to speak along with the medical team. And I'm going to be there. My sister Catherine will be there. And it's just going to be absolutely wonderful. So,
And Bradley will be there too, and hopefully Alan, and we'll see what happens.
yes, your son Bradley and your son-in-law Alan, and our dear friend Roland Gazal, who connected us, who's
Yes,
also an author, Take the Helm, a financial book, which is outstanding.
yes, it is.
So thank you, Roland. And the event is going to be wonderful. Can you talk about what it's like to have this incredible experience, this trauma, this celebration, this survival, and then write a book about it, and then have your friends, family, medical team come together to celebrate?
I'm humbled. I'm so humbled that people would consider me worthy of this, that I de- deserve this. I don't know. Again, it's nothing. There's nothing I could do so right to deserve this. That no one can do anything right enough to deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I did get it, and I'm just filled with gratitude, and more than anything, I've lost the fear of death. I
Ooh.
went into it like everybody else in fear of death and terrorized and dreading that terror. I'm no longer afraid of anything because I know I'm going to go to heaven. I found salvation. I repented and I did a deep dive in terms of soul search of my life. And if I can have one other person,
If we
open
can
their hearts,
reach
if we
one
can reach
person,
just one person with that, it will have been worth it.
Wow, wow, wow. And is that why you wrote the book?
No, I wrote the book because my son Bradley asked me to.
Yes, that's at the beginning. It's a beautiful, beautiful inspiration. So you have to read the book to understand it. It's really special. And the book actually came out on Father's Day as a celebration of that very special request by
And that's when I
Bradley.
got the request was a Father's Day several years earlier.
Hmm. Yes, 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 yes. So what's a lasting, I mean, what is an idea, a thought, a lesson that you'd like to leave people with today?
Focus, don't waste time. Don't waste any time, not a moment, not an hour. When you're talking to someone, really talk to them. When you're loving someone, really love them. When you're doing something, really do it. Be completely 100% focused. Stop being distracted with pettiness and destructive, distracting people, and take control of your time because when it abruptly ends, and it could end just sitting here talking to you, uh, it's too late. Take care of business before, and then you're safe and you lose your fear.
Wow, beautiful, beautifully said. And Claudia, do you have any messages you'd like to share in closing?
love with all your heart. And some people are not so lucky to find a significant other right now. However, they have other people in their lives, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, friends. Love could come in many different shapes and sizes. Don't limit yourself because you don't have a significant other right now.
Mm-hmm.
It can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just love with all your heart. Give everything you have because it's not just about other people loving you. It's not just about me loving him. It's about me loving everybody else around me and him
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
loving everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful,
Love,
beautiful.
we can accomplish anything, literally
Ye-
anything.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
have joy. We've learned one of the greatest mysteries for us in this process is we've never been happier. I mean, we've been going through these horrendous, nightmarish things, and so many, as you'll see in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and we've never lost somehow our ability to
Our joy.
our joy.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's taken our joy, and I don't know how to explain that. Honestly, I don't, but it hasn't.
Well, we have faith, hope, and
Yeah,
love.
yes,
And
Oh,
love.
I
that is
didn't
so.
understand at the time how to explain that, but now I've learned that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'm so grateful that we get to be the publisher of this phenomenal book. It's in hardcover, paperback, and ebook on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, and wherever you buy books online. And so if you're in the California area, Southern California, in October, please do click the link I'm about to put here for Eventbrite and get a ticket and come and meet Dr. Rob, Claudia, Bradley, Alan, me, Catherine, and many other people, including the UCLA medical team and our author, Roland Gazal. And come celebrate this phenomenal book and this beautiful love story, this beautiful story of faith and family love and romantic love. You two are such an inspiration, and it's an
Can I say,
absolute honor to know
can
you.
I say just one more thing?
Of course.
Can you believe this is my wife?
You two,
Right?
there's something about you. I like tear up all the
I
time.
can't believe it. I'm looking at her like, no way. It's true.
I love
Well,
this.
I love this picture on the back of the book, the boat picture,
Yeah,
because it's like
that
you're
was a good
living
time.
the life.
Well, we were.
Like,
We still
We
are.
still are.
We still
yeah.
are.
My physical abilities are slightly diminished.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But that's
That's
okay.
okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So you two are a tremendous inspiration in so many ways. So I can't wait to meet you in person in October.
Looking very much
Likewise.
forward to it. I'm looking so much forward to meeting your sister too.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, thank you for joining me here on Book Talks. Thank you for being an author here at Two Sisters Writing and Publishing. And again, everybody watching, please do order your books on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, or wherever you get your books. You will be captivated from page one to the very end. So we wish you happy reading, and we'd love to hear your comments. So please leave some comments here with this interview and share it with anybody who's interested in love, faith, joy, hope, and near-death experiences. So thank you, Claudia, and thank you, Dr. Rob, for joining me today.
Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
all your help and support.
Thank
You're
you, Kat.
welcome.